So if you drive a car or a bike in India, you've probably heard the chatter, maybe even some of the outrage, about this thing called E20 fuel. It is absolutely blown up online and, it's a huge topic of debate at petrol pumps all over the country. Okay, let's just dive right in and unpack what is really going on here.
At the very heart of this whole thing is one simple question. Is this big nationwide push for E20 fuel a genuine step towards a greener, better future? Or is there something else going on behind the scenes? A lot of people are actually calling it a scam, saying it's a policy really designed for personal profit. So we're going to dig into the claims and the facts.
All right, to get to the bottom of this, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the scam allegation itself. Then, we'll try to understand what the policy's official goals are supposed to be. After that, we'll look at the key policymaker and this alleged conflict of interest, see how this actually impacts you, the consumer, and then finally, we'll separate what's a verified fact from what's just an allegation.
So, let's kick things off with the claims that have made this whole issue so controversial. When you see people online talking about the E20 scam, what are they actually saying?
This quote, it really just nails the core of all the frustration, doesn't it? The feeling out there is that this isn't some policy for the people. The suspicion is that it's a plan that helps a very small, select group while forcing everyday folks like you and me to pay the price, whether that's buying a new car or, worse, damaging our old one.
And these claims, they really boil down to four main points. First, that the policy is basically a way to force people to buy new E20 compliant cars. Second, that it's actively damaging the engines of older vehicles. Third, that it's some kind of backroom deal with big auto and oil companies. And finally, that even the so-called green benefits aren't really what they're cracked up to be. These are some serious accusations.
Okay, but before we can really judge any of those claims, we have to understand the policy itself. What even is E20 fuel? And what did the government say it was trying to achieve when they rolled it out?
On the surface, it's pretty simple. E20 is just your regular petrol, but it's blended with 20% ethanol. Now, ethanol is an alcohol-based fuel, and this is the crucial part. It's made from agricultural stuff like sugarcane and extra food grains. That detail is absolutely key to understanding the government's official argument.
And here they are, the official goals. On paper, the policy is supposed to do a few big things. Cut down on how much expensive crude oil India has to import, reduce pollution from all our vehicles, give a big boost to the agriculture sector, and, in turn, put more money directly into farmers' pockets. These are the stated public benefits.
And the speed of this rollout is, it's striking. This isn't some 10-year plan for the distant future. The first phase started back in 2023, and the target is to have it available everywhere in the country by 2025. That is a really ambitious timeline that's affecting drivers right now.
Okay, now we get to the real heart of the controversy. This is the part where the policy's stated goals crash right into allegations of personal interest and profit.
The main public face, the biggest champion for this E20 push, is the Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari. He has been incredibly vocal and energetic in promoting this shift to ethanol fuels.
And this is the connection that is at the absolute center of the whole scam allegation. So, while the union minister is out there championing the E20 policy in his public role, his sons, Sarang and Nikhil Gadkari, run private companies. We're talking firms like Mana Agro and Sian Agro that are in the business of producing ethanol. It's this direct line between the policymaker and the industry that benefits from his policy that is fueling all of these conflict of interest claims.
So with all that context, let's bring it back down to earth, back to the everyday person. We've talked policy, we've talked politics, but how does this E20 fuel actually affect you when you pull up to the pump?
It all comes back to this one number, 20%. That level of ethanol is what's causing all the concern for vehicle owners, especially for folks who have cars and bikes that weren't specifically built to handle it.
And here's what people are actually experiencing on the ground. They're saying they can't find the old lower ethanol blends like E5 or E10 anymore. They're seeing their mileage drop, sometimes significantly. They're worried about long-term engine damage and corrosion. And to top it all off, they haven't seen any big drop in fuel prices like they were told they might.
This issue of having no choice has become so serious that it's now a legal battle. A public interest litigation has actually been filed in the Supreme Court. It argues that by not giving people other options, or even clear labels at the pump, consumers are basically being forced to use E20 whether they want to or not.
Okay, we've gone through the policy, the key players, and the problems people are facing. Now for the most important part. Let's draw a really clear line between what we know for a fact and what's still an unverified allegation.
So, let's be crystal clear. It is a verified fact that Nitin Gadkari is the main government advocate for the E20 policy. That's not in dispute. It is also a verified fact that his sons run companies that produce ethanol. But the allegation that the policy was designed solely for personal gain or that it's some kind of deliberate scheme to loot the public, that remains an unproven claim. It's an accusation about motive and intent, not a proven fact.
So where does all this leave us?
Well, the conclusion is that while the consumer issues and the potential conflicts of interest are absolutely valid things to debate and be critical of, slapping the label of a scam on it isn't really supported by the policy's official, stated goals. There's a big difference between a controversial policy and an outright criminal scheme.
And that leaves us with a massive question for the future. As E20 becomes the new normal all across India, the real challenge is going to be this. How does the country find the right balance between hitting its national goals, like energy security and a greener economy, while also protecting consumer choice, protecting people's property, and most importantly, maintaining public trust?